Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week I'm continuing the quest to try and make the shed more workable. See you in a minute. Now I'm slowly getting down the list of things to make the shed work properly. The mobile cart's a success. The vacuum system basically is a success. There are one or two issues that I'll come up with later on in a different video. But I've still got two fundamental problems. Stuff on top of workbenches, which is just a tidiness issue mainly, and I am slowly getting on top of that. And stuff on the floor, because the minute I've got anything on the floor it stops me moving the carts around. It's not easy then to just pull the saw out, swap the module over for the router, or move the sanding station out. And it's fairly simple stuff. I'm now down to pretty much the last two or three things to clear up off the floor, and they are the tool bag that I carry around and the Ryobi tools. The Ryobi tools are in a caddy at the moment on the floor. It's not really the right place for them, and if I can get them off the floor, I'm 50% of the way clear of getting the floor okay to roll carts around on. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about the tool bag yet. It may well be that the tools need to come out of the bag onto the wall, and I'll then set up a completely separate set either in the garage or somewhere in long-term storage like up above, so that if I do go out anywhere I can take it with me. But let's start off with the Ryobi tools. Now I was going to build a complete station to put all the Ryobi tools in, and then I thought about it a bit longer. These things tend to change as you buy more tools and swap tools around. So I've decided to go, I'm going to build a drill driver station at some point in the future, because they're the things I grab most of the time. And the other things is basically sanding stuff. So I'm going to build a sanding station, and that's what I'm starting this week. I think it'll take a couple of weeks to do it, because there's some quite complex stuff in the bottom part where all the sandpapers are stored. But this should achieve two things. It'll get the tools off the floor, and it will get rid of one of these plastic boxes that I'm using, that have got they've had all the sandpaper and sanding discs in. I'd got one left over when I tidied up the planer cart, so I've had one sitting on top of the bench for the last I don't know how long, and again it'll get something off the bench. So I've just done a mock-up. I found a space that I'm going to put all this stuff. Let's just have a look and see where we are up to date with it so far. So this is where the sanding station's going, round the consumer unit on the slat wall just to the left of the main door into the shed. Now that's largely speaking the size that I've got, although there has got to be a cutout in it for the consumer unit. So I've marked all that up at the moment and got some idea of how I want to be storing stuff. You can see I've got the discs for the random orbital, and at the moment I've only got 2 or 3 different grades of those. I've got the mouse sander discs, pads, which there are 2, 4, 5 different types. And I've got some Mercer sheets, which I use both on the lathe and when hand sanding with a block, that I got at Yandles a year ago or so now. And these are about 9 different grades, from 80 right the way through to I think 400, 500, 600, something like that. So what I'm intending, I think, is to have some shelves for those down one side, some slots for the discs down the other side, and some holders for the mouse ones as well. That will come out as about 150 mil wide shelf. I shall have the Ryobi sitting on top of that one. That's the awkward one, but I'm going to put that upright alongside. And I've also decided that I might as well bring everything together and put the little Makita that I've got on that shelf there, and I'll have a mount for the mouse sander as well, the Black & Decker one. They'll leave the cutout in the middle for the consumer unit. I think that'll work okay. I'm not going into too much fixtures to hold them or anything, because things might change in terms of what I use. I might buy a different sander for all I know. But as long as I've got a shelf and probably a back plate, I think I'll be alright. So I think I'm going to make it in two pieces. Bottom part first, I shall use 20mm MDF, I think, for, or 18mm for the verticals, certainly the centre ones. I might go down to 9 for the outer ones, and then I'm just going to router some grooves in, which will be the technical bit for me, to get them all in line. And then I'm going to use some of the plastic that I bought from the scrap store place as slide-in shelves that will go into those grooves. Right, now I've used one of the big pieces, the 610 by about 500 pieces I've got up in the roof. I'm going to use that as the back. It's not quite tall enough, but again, it doesn't need to be the full height, because it'll just be the tip of the rotary sander and probably the nose of the mouse that will be sticking up above it. So I'll have a think about that one. I might push it up and then put a joint in behind the shelving area. I'm not sure yet, but I've certainly got enough to do that with that piece. The offcut will do me for a shelf on top of the unit. I've got a piece that is 9mm, the same, which will do me for the bottom of the unit. Found a piece of 12mm, which I shall just cut off a section and cut two sides out for the outer edges. That's 12mm, so it'll take a slightly better router groove for the shelves to go in. And I've got a piece of 18mm that I'm going to cut down for the intermediates. So it's digging into the supplies a bit, but that's what they're there for. When we run out, we run out. We'll still have some bits left over after this, I think. I'm just going to cut these up to rough size, and then I've got to work out a way. I've got the router bit that I shall use. So I'm going to cut this to size, then all I need to do is work out a way of cutting these grooves. Right, now I've got all the parts cut. I hadn't got a long enough piece of MDF for the backing, but I'm going to join it with a piece. Found a small offcut which is as near as, damn it, the right size, and because this is behind the storage area for all the discs and that, it won't show anyway. Hopefully that will work. What I've got to do now is set the router table up with a 6mm cutter and find a way of getting these things done on identical spacings. Right, that's got all the bits together now. I've got the left hand side in 12mm, base in 12mm, corresponding grooved centre divider that's symmetrical in 18mm, an asymmetrical centre divider in 18mm, and a right hand side in 12mm. So that should give me 3 lots of compartments, one for discs, one for mouse sander, one for the abrafile square pads, and a top in 9mm I think. So that's now ready to essentially assemble. I think it's going to be easier to get at least a coat of paint on it before I do that, so I'm going to go off and do that now. I won't bore you with painting. Come back next week and we'll put it all together, assemble the back, and hopefully get it on the wall and finish it next week. Look forward to seeing you then. I hope the video was of interest, and we'll catch up with you next week. See you then. Bye.